It is May 5th, 2025, and Israel and Yemen are now attacking each other after Ansar Allah managed to land a missile at Israel's Ben Gurion airport. Seems like all of the money the US taxpayers spend on air defense for Israel wasn't quite paying off, at least not fully. Now, all of this comes as Israel's security cabinet decided this week that they were going to approve the complete occupation of the Gaza Strip, with finance minister and war criminal extraordinaire Bezalel Smotrich declaring that the Israeli people need to get used to the word occupation because it's not changing. Yes, even if a hostage deal is reached between Israel and Hamas. Interesting timing on this, given that US President Trump is preparing for a visit to the Middle East next week, where there's been a lot of talk about the possibility of a deal. We're going to get into all of the latest here in today's video, but before we do, just a quick reminder that your support makes my work possible. So as always, you can sign up as a monthly paid subscriber over on my pages on Patreon or on Substack. You can also send a one-time donation on my page on Buy Me a Coffee. I'll leave all of the info in the description box below. And just a quick reminder, if you're watching this on YouTube, please make sure that you're subscribed. We are so close to 100,000 subscribers, and we are going to get to that milestone one of these days. I'm always so grateful for all of y'all's support. And now let's get into the latest war crimes that are being carried out by Israel targeting the Palestinian people. As reports noted on Monday, that Israel's security cabinet unanimously approved a plan to seize all of the Gaza Strip in what Netanyahu is claiming will be an intensive military operation aimed at defeating Hamas. Netanyahu also released a video on social media in Hebrew where the translation said that he specifically talked about the fact that with this new campaign, if we'll call it that, that IDF troops wouldn't just launch raids and then retreat as they have done in the past, but that they would launch raids and then occupy the territory. Oh, and then if you're wondering, what about the Palestinian people that are in that territory? Well, Netanyahu talked about them being moved to a different location, didn't really specify exactly where that location would be. And if this sounds familiar, well, it's because we've heard a lot of talk about this coming from Trump, right? Ever since he got into office, he's made statements claiming that, oh, we're just going to move the Palestinians out. We're going to completely take over the Gaza Strip. Well, when Trump talks about it, he talks about it as if it's just going to be some magical transition where the Palestinian people almost kind of lured into this really nice housing and, just a neighboring country, even though all of the neighboring countries have said that they are not going to comply with this. They're not going to take in forcefully displaced Palestinians. So we've heard Trump talk about that, but the version that Israel is actually carrying out on the ground is a lot less magical and a lot more ethnic cleansing and continued killing of the Palestinians, as we have seen Israel targeting them by the thousands in recent days. Smotrich then echoed Netanyahu's rhetoric, but added to the genocidal intent, declaring that Israel will not withdraw from Gaza, even if there is another hostage deal, and telling Israelis to embrace the word occupation as the cabinet has approved plans to quote-unquote conquer the Gaza Strip. And this is the game that Israel plays. We saw this last year in their negotiations with Hamas, where you have Hamas in this position saying, hey, we'll release the hostages, but we need the guarantee that it's going to end the war, that it's going to end the Israeli military's occupation of the Gaza Strip. And Israel's like, sure, we want to get the hostages back, but we're not actually going to end the war. And then they get to this 3-phase plan where, if they had gone through all 3 phases, there's a chance that Israel could have ended its genocidal war on the Gaza Strip. But of course, Israel wasn't planning on going through more than phase 1, and Trump knew that, and he allowed that. So now we have this setup where you have Trump planning a trip to the Middle East next week. And then you have Axios reporting that Israel's security cabinet approved a plan on Sunday night to gradually reoccupy all of Gaza and hold it indefinitely if no deal is reached by May 15th. Plans for the operation call for the IDF to flatten any buildings that remain standing and displace virtually the entire population of 2 million people to a single humanitarian area. The anonymous Israeli official went on to say that the alternative to remaining in the humanitarian zone is for Palestinians to leave the enclave, quote unquote, voluntarily for other countries in line with President Trump's vision for Gaza. So, do you see what Israel's doing here? They're basically pointing to statements that Trump has made, and they're like, look, we're just carrying out what Trump said. We're acting in line with Trump's vision for Gaza. If the Palestinian people don't want to be forced into what is essentially a concentration camp within a concentration camp, oh, well, then they're fine to just go to other countries that want to take them. Well, all these other countries have said that they don't want to take them. So, then what does that mean? And not even to mention the fact that I would argue that Trump is not getting nearly enough criticism for the current state of things in the Gaza Strip, as you have Israel now on its third month of an all-out blockade, refusing to allow in any humanitarian aid. The result is that the Gaza Strip is now on the brink of famine, with the UN reporting the worst-case scenario is unfolding as 2 months into a devastating aid blockade of Gaza. Food has run out, and people are fighting over water amid relentless bombings. A spokesperson for the UN's Humanitarian Affairs Coordination Office said a friend of hers saw people burning a few days ago from the explosions, and there was no water to save them. So you have around 2 million people on the brink of famine. And what is the international community doing? Not a dang thing. They're just sitting back. And I say around 2 million, that's probably a generous estimate given just how many people Israel and the US have killed with their bombardment and blockade over the last nearly 19 months. We know that while, yes, the official death toll is up to, I believe, about 52,000, that the actual death toll is likely in the hundreds of thousands based on the studies that have been done, including quote unquote indirect deaths, those who die from starvation or who die from disease because they're not getting the proper medical care because Israel is actively bombing their hospitals. And what's worse is that the US and Israel are treating it like a game, with reports saying that they're discussing a mechanism to deliver aid to Gaza that bypasses Hamas. And we keep hearing this rhetoric from Israel that, oh, they just need to separate the Palestinian people from Hamas, right? Just create a new concentration camp, send all of the Palestinian civilians there, and then go and what? Kill all of the people that you say are Hamas, even though that could mean literally any Palestinian civilian, right? For the last 19 months now, Israel has not shown a care in the world for the Palestinians they are killing. We've seen the horrific reports on it showing evidence of these kill zones where a Palestinian, it could be a child, it could be anyone, they walk into a zone, and if that's seen as a kill zone, then the IDF forces are free to kill them, and nothing is ever done about it. There is never any kind of justice for the Palestinian people. And we have to remember that the goal was never to quote unquote defeat Hamas in the exact same way that the goal was never to get all of the hostages back to Israel. And even though, yes, we have this back and forth, I know that Trump is headed to the Middle East next week. There's a lot of talk about a possibility of a ceasefire and hostage release deal. Is that something that could happen? And I look at that talk and I'm like, yeah, I guess that there's a possibility. My concern is even if a deal is made, and I'm putting that in heavy quotes, how long is Israel going to actually stick to that? Because as we're seeing right now, they didn't stick to the last deal that was supposed to end the war if they had actually followed through with it, end the war in terms of their genocidal war on the Palestinians. But beyond that, we also have to take into account everything else that's happening right in front of our eyes, which is when you look at the Trump administration, they're not telling Israel to stop bombing. No, they're sending them more bombs. They're sending them more armored bulldozers, when we're seeing reports talking about Israel getting ready to flatten any building that remains in Gaza. Interesting how they're getting all of these new armored bulldozers from the US to help them with their occupation of the Gaza Strip. They've been planning this for a while now. And speaking of that planning, reports have been saying that the Israeli military has begun calling up tens of thousands of reservists to intensify and expand its operations in Gaza, and that under the plan, the military said it would operate in new areas and destroy all infrastructure above and below ground. It's yet another reminder that this is the Trump administration's foreign policy legacy. It's saying one thing, right? Saying that they want to end the war in Ukraine, saying that they want to see peace in the Middle East, and then turning around and doing the opposite, turning around and sending more and more bombs, turning around and continuing to enable Israel, telling them it's fine that they pulled out of the ceasefire deal, that they resumed their bombardment and their blockade of the Gaza Strip. Oh, and on top of that, the US is actively helping Israel in a number of different ways, including by bombing Yemen. And that seems to be working out real well, as Israel launched major airstrikes in Yemen on Monday that targeted the Red Sea port of Hodeidah and a concrete factory near a city in the same province, strikes that came a day after a Houthi missile struck Israel's Ben Gurion airport. So even though the US has spent Lord knows how much money bombing Yemen over the last few weeks, we're still in a situation where Ansar Allah is managing to bomb Israel, with reports on Sunday noting that a ballistic missile launched from Yemen struck near the main terminal of Israel's international airport close to Tel Aviv after the military failed to intercept the projectile seemingly aimed at one of the country's most sensitive locations. And I'll be honest with y'all, when it comes to videos like this, to important updates like this, these typically are my videos that get the lowest views, right? These are the videos that people look at and they're like, oh, okay, more Palestinians dying in the Middle East. And they just click right on ahead and they don't take the time to sit down and to watch these updates and to hear this information. So if you've made it this far in this video, then I just want to take a moment to say thank you. And thank you for continuing to watch, for continuing to engage with my content along the way, even if it isn't the most flashy, exciting topic, because it's the news that is happening right now, right? And yes, every day we get up and there are new reports talking about Palestinians that have been killed and targeted by Israel. But for me, it's the fact that not only is this happening, but the US is actively enabling it and making it possible. You would not have the existence of Israel, but also the genocide of the Palestinians in this way being carried out like this if you did not have the United States, if you did not have the US providing not only military support, but public and political support along the way. And yet here we have Trump, someone who campaigned on this promise of ending the endless wars, who said he was going to bring peace to the Middle East. Did I believe it when he said it? No, not necessarily, but I still think that we need to hold him accountable for those promises, for all of the people who looked at Joe Biden, who called him Genocide Joe, who said, I'm not voting for Kamala Harris because she's promising more of the same. And they looked at Donald Trump and they said, hey, at the very least, he's talking about peace in the Middle East. He's talking about ending the endless wars. That's important to me. And so you went out and you voted for him. For that alone, there absolutely should be accountability and a lot more criticism of what the Trump administration is doing right now. Love him, hate him, I don't care. When you look at the policies that he is supporting, when you look at the fact that he is supporting an all-out genocide, that he's been here for weeks talking about, oh, we're just going to send the Palestinians off to neighboring countries, and then the US is going to take over the Gaza Strip and it's going to turn it into the Riviera of the Middle East. Well, Israel heard that loud and clear. And now you have Israel coming out more publicly than ever before, talking about plans to fully occupy the Gaza Strip, to break every international law in the book with their ethnic cleansing of the Palestinians, as if they haven't done it already. That should be something that everyone should be paying attention to. And most importantly, that's something everyone should be talking about. If anything in this video resonated with you, be sure to like it, share it with your friends, leave a comment, and as always, don't forget to subscribe. And if you want to keep up with all of my work, make sure that you're subscribed to my page on Substack. That's rachelblevins.substack.com. That's where you'll find ad-free videos and new weekly episodes of my exclusive series for paid subscribers called Sanctioned. You can also check out Sanctioned over on my page on Patreon. That's patreon.com/Rachel Blevins. As always, thank y'all so much for all of your support, and I'll see you next time.